Assassin's Creed has a range of side content throughout the series, liberating Borgia districts, naval skirmishes, parkour puzzles, and the infamous romance quests that have spawned many Tumblr posts as a result. In this video, I'll be ranking each game based purely on the side content it features. I will not include any DLC, multiplayer, or pre-order exclusive content in my ranking, as those would be better done separately. So without further ado, let's begin. Assassin's Creed 1 has one of the most mature settings and narratives in the series. Altair is a no-nonsense type of person, so it makes sense that he would not have a bunch of pub brawls across the Holy Land. His main focus was the Templars and the targets he was to take care of. This meant the side content in the first game was limited, commonly known for just having flags to collect. You can also rescue civilians, and the community will help you against enemies in the future if you're in the area. There are Templar Knights scattered across the Holy Land for players to feed their bloodlust on, killing more skilled enemy types. The best part of the side content would have to be the extra investigations, giving the player more intel to take out the main Templar targets and gaining more knowledge about the wider Templar conspiracy. This will be missed by most, so be sure to try it out in your next playthrough. Assassin's Creed 1 got the party started, but will have to bow out early in this ranking, unfortunately. Assassin's Creed Mirage is a meh game in general. Side content can vary from basic fetch quests that plagued more recent installments of the series, or longer fetch quests. However, a nice feature of the game was definitely the contracts, with a variety of locations to explore further and complete the objectives, mainly killing a target or retrieving an item. Tales of Baghdad existed, I think. Mirage failed to return to the roots of the series in most ways, like a captivating narrative, parkour with freedom of movement, a memorable protagonist and antagonists. The side content might be the only part of Mirage that surpassed the first game in the series. Assassin's Creed Revelations is my third favourite game in the entire series. The massive key missions are definitely a highlight of the game, and of course the main narrative being my favourite part of the game. However, in terms of side content, the game is definitely lacking. Tower defense was mocked by many. For me, I actually quite enjoyed it, and if there was ever an Assassin's Creed tower defense game, I would definitely give it a try. Definitely prefer that to an AC Fall Guys that is rumoured to come out in the near future. Some collectibles to collect, some renovations to do. I think there was only one beat up event, of course being Dushio again. I like the districts to liberate, and you could actually lose them if you failed the tower defense, a nice addition on the predecessors. A bit of bomb crafting for the terrorist fantasy within us all, right? And assassin contracts. You could also recruit some peeps to become assassins. So once again, it's just a fine bit of side content to do, but nothing special like other games in the series, so that's why it shall remain low in this video. This is one I'm sure many will disagree with. Valhalla has some side content that has depth, but a lot of it is just a bunch of bloat and filler. It's like when you order a classic fish and chips from a chippy. It comes with a metric shit ton of chips. Not complaining in that instance. Yes, I am comparing the side content in Assassin's Creed Valhalla to chippy chips, there to act as filler, for some to mindlessly devour and others to discard because the quantity is too much. These side quests are designed to be dull, to try and get the player to buy time savers and XP boosts from the in-game store, to avoid playing these side quests and get to the better content the game has to offer. Valhalla is the most guilty of this crime in this series. They even made side quests a part of the main story, making them mandatory to play, which is beyond clapped, and why I rate Valhalla so low in terms of side content. Assassin's Creed Origins suffers from the filler content I mentioned in the Valhalla rant. The only true origin this game offered was for XP boosts and time savers, but there is some side content I actually thoroughly enjoyed in this game, main one being the various strongholds across Egypt. Stealth plus combat and a bit of traversing to take down an enemy stronghold. Chef's kiss. After that, a lot of side content is just alright. Colosseum fights, hunting, pyramid tombs to explore and loot. In terms of the aesthetic and scope of the world, the devs had great vision. It's a shame it lacks depth and was not filled with quality content. Wow, Assassin's Creed Odyssey not bottom of a ranking? What sorcery is this? Odyssey has a lot of similar problems in my other RPG critiques. So, what does it do better or worse compared to the others? I think the naval combat was pretty good, even if the volley of spears is a little unrealistic for the naval combat of the time, since the main strategy was ramming enemy vessels and not taking them down with spears. But overall, one of the best naval combat systems in the series. The fights against mythical monsters, or should I say the Isu experiments, offered a different bit of combat compared to the sludge enemies of the game. Like the unlimited Athenian Spartan battles where you change the outcome by killing 7 enemies. The mercenary system is meh, although I do like more powerful enemies hunting me down, that is very nice. The romance quests had as much depth and substance as I could expect from a narrative director who just finished university in Canada. A series of one-night stands where the Eagle Bearer will shag anything that walks and talks, because of their lack of standards, untamable libido, or whatever else your headcanon conjures up on the subject. Certainly the most memorable side content of the RPG games was found in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but usually not for good reasons. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is certainly a special game with special characters. The side content does have a certain charm. If it's train heists, epic gang wars, fight clubs, bounty hunting, car escorts to fill your time in. The murder mysteries were some decent side content to do, with the setting being perfect for those type of missions. The Helix Rift to 1914 was the highlight of the side content in this game, opening up so many possibilities for future games to explore the same setting across multiple time periods. Of course, I say this knowing no sequel has ever played around with this concept again. I made an entire video begging on my hands and knees, not for the first time on camera, for the Helix Rift missions to return in some capacity. What we got in Syndicate was a nice glimpse into one of the many good ideas scrapped by the series. My goodness, that is one cluttered map, isn't it? You just have an urge to complete it, right? Right? Unity is a flawed game. Some may even say the clappest in the land. Some may say it was fixed after the patches, like the passionate Unity stan lasers.
Overall, however, this was a good game after the patches were brought out. The game...
Unity is one of the most mature games in the series, and I love it for that. I love the combat system, when it works. It's the most punishing in the series, and sometimes for the wrong reason, because you get killed instantly because of the fucking patches. Most of the content does not hold your hand, like the Notre Dame enigmas. They are tough. My little peanut brain has to actually work for once. My goodness. I'm not used to that in this series. The murder mysteries were the highlight of this game. Investigations for you to actually conduct. Not just using eagle vision to find all the clues within a 30-step radius, then get an epic cutscene to tell me everything in order, in case I was too retarded to follow the 3 lines of dialogue that already stated what happened. You own a cafe in this game, which you renovate and make a bunch of rupees from. A classic system before the dark times of microtransactions that killed the concept. Assassin's Creed Rogue does not fulfill the assassin fantasy. It definitely does not fulfill the Templar fantasy. However, it does fulfill the privateer fantasy. Third time's the charm, I guess.
I make my own luck.
Iron Assassin.
The side content of Assassin's Creed Rogue is its greatest strength. Head to New York to liberate assassin districts, do some renovations to Fort Arsenal or the Morrigan. Hop on the Morrigan like it's Ezio and take on ships. Forts or even some legendary ships. Loot and plunder and do a bit of hunting. Assassin's Creed Rogue is often labelled as a Black Flag clone. It failed to clone a narrative of similar quality. It failed in creating a multifaceted ensemble cast. It failed in meshing different fantasies together. But the side content, the privateer fantasy, it did a phenomenal job, and I'm glad as a clone it managed to do that at least, along with adding extra features to differentiate it from the original. The North Atlantic map is always a pleasure to play around in, a unique experience in a series full of repetition. For all that, Assassin's Creed Rogue makes it this high on the list. Assassin's Creed 2 has my favourite setting, my favourite parkour system, and is my favourite game in the series. But it's not without any faults. The side content is a mixture of some of the best in the series to some I don't rate highly. Collecting feathers is not something I enjoy doing at any point in my life, even if it does resurrect the life of Ezio's mother. Speaking for the first time since her husband and sons were murdered, I don't care to collect 100 fucking feathers on each playthrough to do that. Okay?
Oh, shiver my timbers!
Beat up events and races act as a little extra content to do, not adding much substance to the narrative or Ezio as a character apart from Ezio plowing Emilia in public. Conceiving Subject 16's distant ancestor, Ezio is truly my favourite man-whore of all time. The Gemwote? Yeah, Gemwote? Okay, we'll have to work on that. Assassin contracts exist. The truth was a bunch of puzzles and conspiracies that act as world building for the series. While being some different content to play, I enjoyed them. The renovations to Montergione are goated, though overpowered in terms of the wealth you can accumulate. It's nice seeing it grow from a run-down town constantly dark and gloomy, reminding me of my life in Scotland, where it's so dark that I don't even notice I'm standing on a bunch of needles barefoot every day. Ignorance is bliss, I guess. To when you finally fully renovate Montergione. The sun finally comes out, so satisfying. Too bad that never happens where I'm from. The best side content in the game are the many tombs or layers found across each map. You collect the seals from each of the assassin tombs to unlock the armor and sword of Altair, which is the goated legendary items to unlock in the series. Many games tried to replicate the experience of acquiring this armor, but it would never beat this. Back to the assassin tombs, these are great parkour puzzles and chases to complete, each having a unique location to traverse. They spawned the concept that was perfected by later installments. Assassin's Creed 2 has a decent amount of side content that develops Ezio as a character, showing off his personality, interests, and qualities, both charming and questionable. All this earns AC2 4th place for me. Assassin's Creed 3 is often criticised for not allowing the player to play as an assassin Connor till Sequence 6. I can get where people are coming from until I look at the amount of side content that gives you more than enough time to play as Connor. Assassin recruits are probably done the best in the series in this game, since the recruits are actually characters and not one-dimensional archetypes compared to the ones in Brotherhood and Revelations. The forts to take down across the map were satisfying as the one-man army Connor. The Homestead missions showed a completely different side to Connor, developing him as a kind soul giving a bunch of individuals salvation on the land of the Homestead, developing a friendly community as a result. The naval missions were a little basic, apart from the animations where when the ship gets hit by cannon fire you can actually see the crew members die horrifically on fire. Fuck. That's a pretty bad way to go, I guess. If you get hit too many times on the same side of the Aquila, it can stop you from firing as quickly also, which is a nice detail, forgotten by later installments. The Biddle missions act as the main test for Connor's naval prowess. Most memorable part for me is Biddle and Connor staring at each other through their telescopes like lost lovers, which I always found an amusing scene for some reason. The side content I love the most in this game would be the peg-leg missions, going to different locations for linear segments, finding pieces of a map that will lead to Captain Kidd's treasure. From Jamaica to Canada, the devs created maps unique and memorable, chases, grand set pieces, or mysteries to solve, all resulting in a Ring of Eden that deflects bullets. Easily some of the best side content in the series can be found in Assassin's Creed 3, and that's why I'm ranking it third. Assassin's Creed Black Flag is my second favourite game in the entire series. It has my favourite protagonist and ensemble cast, a great soundtrack and setting. I've not actually completed many playthroughs of the game, and I think that's mainly down to the wealth of side content hooking me in to fully complete before starting again. There are sea shanties and animus fragments to collect, acting as little parkour puzzles or chases, of course allowing you to play the famous tune on the jackdaw, Bully in the Alley. Way, Bully in the Alley. On land there are Mayan puzzles to unlock Mayan armor that deflects bullets, Templar hunts where you'll acquire keys to unlock some more drip that looks awfully familiar to the robes Shay dons in Assassin's Creed Rogue, the Kenway fleet, assassin contracts, and naval contracts to gain extra dollar when you're not looting chests, corpses, or boarding ships. When you're not killing Spanish, Brexiteers, assassins, Templars, Portuguese, pirates, or a sage, you can hunt down some wildlife instead, harpooning whales, dolphins, and sharks till they go extinct. All hunting allows you to make upgrades, like how many holsters, pouches, and how much drip you have, along with increasing health. The underwater missions, finding the prerequisite plans to upgrade your ship or just gain some extra loot, were also spectacular, and the best underwater content in the series. Less is more with this linear level design in the game. The RPG games could learn a thing or two about that. Of course, the main side content of the game, besides sea shanties, would have to be the open world naval combat, your standard skirmishes and boardings, incapacitating forts, turning them from enemies to allies, capped off by 4 legendary ships to test your skills as captain. With the open world naval combat, it's simply endless fun to jump back into. The same playthrough every now and then. I could easily see people putting this number 1 for the replayability factor plus the quality content, but there's one game that features higher quality side content and where the side content feeds back into the main narrative more effectively and the character's development the best in the series. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is masterful in several categories. It may not be my personal favourite in the series, but it certainly features my favourite DLC, modern day, and side content. The main plot of the game is defeating the Borgias by various means. If it's liberating the many districts of Roma, empowering individuals to become assassins and protect the people, or stopping the Borgia having a monopoly on weaponry and advanced machines all the time. Every piece of side content feeds back into the main narrative and conflict of the game, and that's one reason it's excellent. Well, maybe the flags, feathers, and other collectibles don't have much depth, but the rest most certainly do. The Christina missions worked perfectly in this game. I'm glad they were cut from AC2, as they would have messed up the pacing of that game. Them being side missions you unlock when you gain higher synchronization with Ezio because they are repressed memories Ezio stored deep within himself, is fantastic for Ezio's characterization and how the animus elevates the game and world building of the series, but maybe not for Ezio's mental health. The Da Vinci war machines are some of the greatest linear set pieces in the series, usually starting off with stealth before going all out action, having fun with the various devastating instruments of death. These missions really encapsulate Ezio as a character, a friend, assassin, and action hero. This is Ezio in his element, and it's always so much fun to replay these unique missions. Assassin tombs are my favourite side content in the series. Each tomb is unique, chase, time, or combat challenges to make them different along with the various locations they take place in. They are the pinnacle of Assassin's Creed gameplay, parkour puzzles to test the player's skills. It's a shame the armor unlocked from these Romulus tombs was so fugly, but apart from that, the greatest side content in the Assassin's Creed series are the tombs of Brotherhood. Thank you guys for watching this far, it means a lot. What's your favourite side content in the Assassin's Creed series, and what would your ranking be compared to mine's? Comment it down below. Like and subscribe to support the channel, and I'll catch you all next time.